This part repeats things I already told you before in some of the chapters. Most important is the understanding of the concept of using maps and layers for texturing. If you have trouble with understanding it, you will never be able to make good texturing. So, if it's necessary, try to repeat this course. I tried to explain it here shortly again with the raw dirt scan example I did before. I want to use this scanned dirt as overlay of my wood texture to make it more complex and real, like it would be in reality. I just use the color range selector to select the white parts and use the Photoshop function layer mask to get rid of this background. Now I have just the scratches, dirt and sand activated in my picture. You can use the selected stuff to get a pure mask by using the mouse. It's like transferring the information of the yes and no's to a new layer. Just point your mouse over the mask and press Ctrl and the right mouse button. Now you have the selection activated. Now just press Ctrl J to make a new layer right out of the selection. So, what's the difference between the top layer and the other? You can see that I have one layer with the color information and the other with the mask information. This one is represented with just grayscale values. White means no, pure black means yes. You can invert it to switch between the states, but the meaning is the same. Selections are good to make a mask for show me's and don't show me's. You can see that we use this technique of mask and layers in Photoshop, but we are able to use it in our 3D application as well. I have set up a small test scene with two boxes where there are texture applied on. To check the difference between those boxes, I open the material editor and inspect the first one. You see that I use only a single texture with some shader settings to get the wood look as real as possible. Some reflections, some diffuse, and such settings to replicate the wooden look that depends on my scene environment. On the other side I have used our dirt layer with a mask to make it dirty. You see that the difference is just a small icon on the left side of my material editor. That indicates that I use an additional layer. You see that I use the color information layer as a color layer and the Photoshop mask as the alpha mask. And I use the dirt mask as a bump layer and as a reflection layer. That means that my dirt is separated from the clean look of my usual texture, and it will use other reflection setting and it will use a bump simulation. The difference is easy to see. Even the real-time view shows the difference well between the normal texture and the normal texture plus a dirt layer. I use the color of the dirt and simulate the bump and the reflection of my new layer. All is done by using a layer with some alpha masks. That's what the secret is. The use of layers and maps. Alpha maps to separate stuff and maps to show our 3D application where it should make some other calculation. To apply these layers and masks to the correct position, you have to use the UV maps. The mask is a grayscale picture that can show the render engine where or where not yes and no. It all should be rendered. And layers are different textures information. I can use maps on every layer. Just to show you again, I just add a layer to my texture and select the poison green as my color. Then I load my map, which becomes automatically an alpha map, and repaint my box. You see that I have green spots where my dirt is supposed to be. I just delete that layer and my dirt is back. I render this mostly rough example to show you that I can add dirt to my textures in a snip to make it look more real. The difference is amazing if you use it in the right situation.